What I hope will happen is that there are young girls and boys across this continent who will look at me and think about what they too can do. That despite, because I think that this is the truth about this continent, that people can thrive in spite of all of the obstacles that our governments place in front of us.
Hey guys, so I just got to the bank. I have an appointment there and I should be done with the day. I mean, not quite done. I have to stop by the school just to see where the workers are at. So basically, you guys know we're doing construction, so I need to make sure that they're doing what they're supposed to do. There's another team of builders that were supposed to come today, but I haven't been at the school for the past few days, so I want to make sure that there's work for them, there's enough work for them and enough supplies for them to use. So I need to stop by and just make sure, you know, everything is set for them to start tomorrow. Anyway, let me talk about this topic, because that's a topic that many people have asked me about. They wanted me to talk about that, and I think mostly women wanted me to talk about that. This is the topic of how do people treat me as being a businesswoman in Cameroon. Guys, Cameroon is just like any other African country. I know what you guys are going to say. Oh, Cameroon is not like South Africa or Nigeria, all of these things. I think we have, in the big picture, we have similarities in the way our cultures behave. So let me talk to you about just being in a patriarchal society, right, in Africa. And I'm really generalizing when I say in Africa, because I know, I mean, mostly in Africa, it's patriarchal. So, is my experience different than a man experience being in my shoes, right? Being a CEO and owning multiple businesses? I would say yes, definitely yes. And I also think that me looking this way doesn't really help. It does not help at all. My first job, when I graduated, and for 2 years that I worked there, I worked as an internal auditor. People thought I was an intern. For 2 years that I was working there as a full-time staff, a full-time internal auditor, people still believed that I was an intern because the team was really composed of older men and mostly white male. I think all of them were white male. So it was that was the years, I want to say those were the years where I quickly realized that being young in certain profession is really not in your advantage. So I remember my mom, I would call my mom and I would be like, can you imagine people are still asking me if I'm an intern? And I went with my girlfriend. I don't know if I already told you guys that story, but my girlfriend Linda, we went to a hair supply store, and I was trying to buy a wig, and I wanted to buy a black, black hair wig, and I wanted it to have a bob cut just because I wanted to look older. And I remember that day I tried on so many wigs and at some point the lady who was helping us, right, she was like, as soon as I wore that specific wig, she was like, oh, finally you look like a 23-year-old. I think she said 22 or 23. And at the time I was 26, about to turn 27. Yeah, that was my experience. And it was actually worse when I would wear my own natural hair, because I have huge, big natural hair. So it would get worse, you know, the comments, and people would think I just graduated from college and all of these things. And I'm just like, come on, I'm in my mid-30s for some of you who don't know that, right? So I know me being in Cameroon and being in the shoes of, you know, a co-founder of a school, of a primary school, the CEO of my brother company, the CEO and founder of my, you know, consulting firm, you still get the same look. People are still, even people in the US, for example, like I'm just not gonna say it's just Africa. Even in the US, I have people looking at me like, okay, we're gonna have a meeting with the owner, we're gonna have a meeting with the CEO, and this is you, you know, this is what you get. So in Cameroon, it's one of those things that people don't take you seriously at first. They really underestimate, you know, who you are just because you look a certain way. So I don't know if I already told you guys the story, but I went to the tax office sometime in October because I used to have somebody who was handling the taxes. But when I relocated to Cameroon, I was like, okay, let me figure out the procedure, because the person who was in charge is no longer within the company. So I went there because I wanted to know the procedure, because whoever I'm going to hire in order to take care of those tasks, I want to know the procedure so that they don't tell me anything about, Madam, that's how they call me here. Madam, it's not like this. Madam, this is not happening like that. Madam, they asked me for ABCG. So I made it a point to go every single place, every single office that we have to deal with administrative things, you know, tax, and anything that has to do with having a business in Cameroon. So I remember going to the tax office, and there was this older man, maybe in his 60s or something, and he was going through the hall. We were waiting because usually the line is super long if you're trying to see, you know, the boss, you know, the director. So that man was walking in the hall, and he made a comment like, what are you kids, you know, what are you kids doing here? Don't you have school today? And guys, keep in mind that the way I'm dressed today, wait, let me fix this thing. Keep in mind that the way I'm dressed today, it's not that different than the way I was dressed that day, right? It's not like I had a little dress with some flats or some flip-flops. No, I was dressed professionally. And he made a comment. I didn't even say anything, right? Because I was like, he's not talking to me. So he walks by again and he makes the same comment, but this time he's looking at me like, I'm talking to you. He basically told me I'm talking to you. Asking me if there's no school today. And I was with my staff, and she wanted to say something, and I just told her, no, don't bother, you know. And I just told him, no, I don't have school today. Guys, this is, you know, I've graduated. When did I graduate? I've graduated from university with my bachelor in 2011, right? This is 10 years. 10 years that I've graduated. And 10 years later, somebody still believes that I'm still in school. So things like that happen here. There's another story where I went to a gentleman's office because I was supposed to, you know, figure out some administrative things for business purposes. And he basically asked me to call the owner of the business because, I mean, he assumed I was a secretary, right? So he told me, can you tell the owner ABCG? And I remember that day I was like, I am the owner. And he looked at me like, I mean, he was confused. And a part of me actually enjoy when people get confused because I think in Africa people have this idea that being a CEO or being what they call here the DG, le DG, Directeur Général, being the president of the company or the founder of a school, people have this idea that you're supposed to look a certain way. And if you're a woman, first of all, they don't even expect you to be a woman. And second of all, if you're a woman, they expect you to look a certain way, you know, like way more mature, maybe have a ring on your finger or something like that. So every time I show up in places as a business, you know, like I'm carrying, you know, that title and that hat, that this is my business, people are always looking at me funny. And I'm going to share another example that happened several times at the store. You guys have seen my bridal boutique here in Douala, in Bonamoussadi. And I mean, I have so many instances, but let me pull one, right? There was this client who came, I think she was the mother of the bride. So my staff is taking care of them. I'm downstairs, I'm doing reels for for social media. So I'm doing reels with my sister. So I go upstairs, right? And I'm trying to figure out if the bride is happy with her gown and if everything is working fine. Then I made a comment, you know, that this will be the first gown, I mean the first design that somebody is purchasing, because the bride had made the decision that she wanted to purchase that specific gown. And that was a design that I made in 2000, maybe like 2 years ago, and that nobody ever purchased. And I have like 2 or 3 samples in the store. So I made a comment that this will be the first time somebody is actually purchasing this gown, and I was waiting to see somebody wear it. And the mother of the bride basically looked at me and she said, "What does that mean? Is the gown so special that you were waiting?" I mean, guys, I can't even say exactly what she says, but basically this lady told me that there's nothing special about the gown, and that a gown is a gown, right? Keep in mind, she doesn't know I designed the gown. She doesn't know I manufacture every single piece of wedding gown that she sees in that store. You know, I don't buy in bulk. I manufacture all of them from scratch. I design all of them. There are some of them that my staff design, right? And when she made that comment in a condescending tone, I was just like, okay. And I stood there because I was trying to assist the bride, because at this point, guys, the bride is the priority, not the mom, right? So I was trying to assist her and really advise her on the shoes that she could wear, the veil that she could wear, and all of these things, right? So as soon as I was done, I went back downstairs. Now it's time to negotiate the price, because you know Cameroon, people negotiate prices. So this lady goes downstairs with my staff to now negotiate the price, because the bride wanted to give an advance. If you don't have the full amount, you can always give part of the total amount so that we can just reserve the gown. So my staff is now negotiating price, the final price, with the bride and the mother. The mother is really the last person to decide, because apparently she's the one purchasing the gown. So my staff gets to the point where she hits a wall, right? Because according to my instruction, you cannot go lower than this price. So at this point, she hits the wall with the mother of the bride. She turns to me and say, "This is what she says she has. Can you do something?" The mother of the bride made a comment once again. She says, "Oh, so she's the manager? Okay, madam, we were trying to do ABCD." And I looked at her and I said, "First of all, I'm not the manager, I'm the owner, I'm the designer. Now, let's go back to talking about money." And I remember her whole demeanor changed. I mean, she was shocked. I could see the way she was staring at me from head to toe. I could see the way her language changed, because keep in mind, guys, that the whole time, this lady was just dismissing me. Like I shouldn't even say anything to her daughter, the way she was responding to me. And I kept my cool, because I was like, there's no point to argue or fight with the mother of the bride. It wasn't even about what she said. It was the way she said it, right? The way she had such a condescending tone, the way she dismissed me in the first place, thinking that I was just an employee of the store. I think it was just the whole vibe that she gave, just to find out later that, guess what? She's the owner. So I just thought that example was so hilarious, because you should have seen her face, not only her face, but basically now her tone was changing. The way she would talk to me was changing. And at the end of our conversation, she basically said, "Oh my God, thank you so much for having us. Thank you for your customer service. I would definitely recommend other people to your store." And then she left, and I said, "Thank you for coming." You know, there's no point to fight with people. One thing that I learned in Cameroon is that it's so easy to get into a fight with people, because the way sometimes people talk is so disrespectful. So if you wanted to know how is my experience being a young female entrepreneur CEO in Cameroon, that's my experience. I know it doesn't apply to everyone, but that's my experience, right? I can only speak for myself. But basically it's kind of tough, right? In the sense where people don't give you credit. I've had people, oh gosh, I've had workers that I would take to the school, construction workers, to do some of the work, and they would ask me to tell my husband. They would tell me, "Madam, this is not how you do this thing. You should ask your husband." And I'm just like, excuse me? like the way people assume that if you driving a big car, if you own a business, if you have money, or if you're in a position of leadership, it means that there is a man behind all of these things. So I think it's just one of those things, right? That if you're a female business owner and you're young or you look young, people just assume that there is a man behind the scene, right? Funding your businesses, paying the staff. Maybe the man is even paying for your lifestyle. And no offense to men, and I would love, guys, don't get me wrong, I would love to have a man doing all of these things for me, because as an alpha female, it gets tiring, right? But I think my reality in Cameroon is that people would just assume that there is somebody, and it's not just in Cameroon, it's also elsewhere, you know. I have many people on social media who believe that the reason why I came back or I relocated back to Cameroon is really because I was following some guy. Guys, I'm still single. If I was following some guys, I'm sure you would have already seen him somewhere in this video. But I think that's just a reality. It's not just Cameroon. I think it's everywhere else. When a young female tends to be a little bit successful, people want to credit it to a man, or they want to credit that to her parents being rich. Another thing that I get is that, oh, you came back to Cameroon because your parents are rich. Let me tell you something. I had a conversation with my dad and mom a couple days ago, and I mentioned that to my parents, and I was like, do you know that people think that I relocated to Cameroon because you guys are rich? And my dad was so offended. My dad was so offended because my dad is so proud of his daughter. My dad was like, what the heck? So we went to America with you? Did we go there with you? Did we went to school for you? Did we graduate for you? Did we have 3 jobs at a time for you? You know, did we build those businesses for you? Like, my dad was just offended by that comment. And the only comment that my mom made, which was funny, she was like, oh, we're expecting you to take care of us. And I just thought it was funny. Of course, my parents have been a pillar. They have been a really amazing support system. The fact that I'm even managing a school today is really in huge part because of my parents, because they used to be founders of a school as well. So I have to give credit where credit is due. But guys, come on, I'm always hustling. I've been hustling, don't mind the bad words. I've been hustling, and that's just my reality. So I think when it comes to, you know, being a black female, or, you know, being a young black female in Africa and being at the same time a business owner, that's really some of the misconceptions and some of the things that people believe to be true, which is not the truth. Anyway, I'm heading to school, so I'll talk to you guys when I get there, because the road is a bit rocky. So I'll see you guys later.
Là, c'est Madame la fondatrice. C'est elle qui a cet établissement.
J'ai pensé à quelque chose.
Elle a construit
Il faut qu'on mette
il y a d'ici là 2 ans.
à l'intérieur, qu'on encastre ça. Donc, comme tu vas encore mettre une rangée de papins, on va encastrer ça comment? Est-ce qu'il faut les tuyaux? Au-dessus des papins. Au-dessus. Ou bien... Je croyais que tu avais déjà commencé ici. So guys, I'm not sure exactly if you guys understand construction terms, but basically, don't ask me how you say that in English because I have no idea. So I'm just going to explain in French, right? So let me show you the before so that I can better explain it. This is the before, right? And this is after. So basically we call this the giclage. Après avoir giclé, il faut que le maçon maintenant crépisse. Donc on est au niveau où le maçon il a déjà giclé en fait toute la partie ici. Si c'est que je mets ça de plus près, ça donne ça. Ok. Donc maintenant c'est juste question de de crépir après. Bon, ici là c'est pas encore fait. Vous voyez que c'est pas encore fait. Ça sont les autres salles de classe. Donc il n'est pas encore arrivé ici. Donc en fait ce qu'il a déjà fait c'est juste les 2 premières salles de classe. Bon, on en a encore pour at least 1 mois de plus pour faire tout ce travail et aussi faire le bas. Le bas on n'a même pas encore commencé en bas. Donc ça encore c'est autre chose. Bon, par exemple, ici c'est le giclage, ici c'est le crépissage. This is gonna be the end of my day. I hope this conversation was insightful. If you guys have any other suggestions on different topics, let me know and I'll be glad to make another video. In the meantime, don't forget to like and subscribe, and I'll talk to you guys later. Bye!